The teacher who changed everything, Doralina Vasquez, floated gracefully through the corridors of Aurora 7, her magnetic boots clicking softly against the metal floor. The research station orbited between 3 star systems, neutral territory where species from across the galaxy came to share knowledge. Alina had been working there for 2 years, and she loved every moment of it at 38. Alina was considered young for a xenobiologist of her caliber. Her dark hair was always tied back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes sparkled with curiosity whenever she encountered something new. She wore the standard-issue white coat of the research station, but hers was covered in colorful pins. From different worlds she had visited, the station hummed with activity. Crystalline beings from Arcturus worked alongside the 6-armed Karathi researchers. Gaseous entities from the Nebula Confederation shared laboratory space with silicon-based lifeforms from the Outer Rim. But today, Elena's attention was focused on the Zephyrian delegation that had arrived 3 days ago. The Zephyrians were a proud species. They stood 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin that shimmered like water. Their elongated heads housed large, intelligent eyes, and they communicated through a combination of melodic sounds and color changes in their skin. They were also dying. A plague had swept through the Zephyrian Empire 6 months ago. It attacked their nervous systems, causing paralysis and eventual death. Millions had already perished, and their best scientists could find no cure. The Zephyrian hegemony, their ruling council, had reluctantly agreed to seek help from other species. Elena had been studying samples of the plague for 72 hours straight. She barely slept, surviving on coffee and determination. Her human colleagues worried about her, but Alina knew that every hour she delayed meant more Zephyrian lives lost. Dr. Vasquez called her assistant, Marcus Chen, floating into the lab. "You need to rest. You've been working non-stop." Alina looked up from her microscope, rubbing her tired eyes. "I'm close, Marcus. I can feel it. There's something about this virus that seems familiar." "Familiar how?" Marcus asked, pulling himself to a workstation beside her. Alina pulled up her research on the holographic display. The virus structure rotated slowly in 3 dimensions, its complex molecular chains glowing in different colors. "Look at this protein sequence here," she pointed. "It's almost identical to the Terran flu virus from 2089, the one that killed 30 million people before we developed the cure." Marcus studied the display carefully. "You're right, the base structure is remarkably similar, but the binding mechanism is completely different." "Exactly," Alina said, excitement building in her voice. "But what if we could modify our cure to work on their biology? Zephyrian neural pathways use copper-based conductors instead of our sodium-potassium channels. If we could adjust the molecular key... She worked frantically, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The computer ran simulation after simulation, each time getting closer to a viable solution. After another 6 hours of work, the computer chimed with success. "It works," Alina whispered, staring at the results. "In simulation, it works perfectly." Marcus checked her calculations twice. "Alina, this is incredible. You found a cure." But Alina was already moving. "We need to synthesize it immediately and test it on the tissue samples. If this works, we can save their entire species." 3 days later, Alina stood in the main conference hall of Aurora 7. Representatives from dozens of species filled the amphitheater-style seating. At the center sat the Zephyrian delegation, their skin patterns showing desperate hope mixed with skepticism. Chief Researcher Zix 441 spoke first, his voice carrying the musical tones of his people. "Dr. Vasquez, you claim to have found a solution to our plague. Our own scientists have worked for months with no success. How can you, an alien, succeed where we have failed?" Alina stepped forward, her voice calm and confident, because sometimes an outside perspective can see what those too close to the problem cannot. Your plague virus is remarkably similar to one that devastated my own species 2 centuries ago. I've modified our cure to work with Zephyrian biology. She activated the holographic display, showing the before and after effects of her treatment. On Zephyrian tissue samples, the infected cells, previously dying and malformed, were restored to perfect health within hours of treatment. The hall erupted in amazed murmurs. The Zephyrian delegation's skin patterns shifted to brilliant golds and silvers, indicating extreme excitement and gratitude. "The treatment is simple to produce," Alina continued. "The base components are found on most worlds. I'm sharing the complete formula freely with your scientists. Within weeks, you can have enough cure to treat your entire population." Chief Researcher Zixfor for one stood, his massive frame trembling with emotion. "Dr. Vasquez, you have saved our species. What do you want in return? We can offer you technology, resources, territory." Alina smiled warmly. "I want nothing. The sharing of knowledge to preserve life is its own reward. Take this gift and use it to save your people." The Zephyrian delegation immediately transmitted the cure formula back to their homeworld. Within hours, reports came back of successful treatments. The plague that had threatened to destroy their entire civilization was ended by a single human scientist who asked for nothing in return. But not everyone in the Zephyrian Empire was pleased. High Regent Vex Prim of the Zephyrian hegemony received the news in his crystalline palace on the capital world of Zephyr Prime. His skin patterns showed deep purples and blacks, indicating rage and humiliation. "You're telling me," he said to his council, "that a single human has accomplished what our entire scientific establishment could not?" "Yes, High Regent," replied his science advisor nervously. "The cure is remarkably effective. Our people are already beginning to recover, and she wants nothing in return." "Nothing, High Regent." She freely shared the knowledge. Vex Prime's patterns darkened further. "This makes us look weak. It makes our entire civilization appear inferior to these humans." Another council member spoke up. "Perhaps we should express our gratitude publicly. Show the galaxy that the hegemony honors those who help us." "No," Vexprim said firmly. "I've been watching these humans. They're dangerous, too curious, too willing to interfere in others' affairs. Mark my words, this so-called gift is the first step in their plan to dominate our empire." "But High Regent, the evidence suggests nothing," Vexprim roared. "This Alina Vasquez has made us look like fools in front of the entire galaxy. She has positioned humanity as our superiors, our saviors. This cannot stand." The council fell silent. They knew that tone. The High Regent had made his decision. 2 weeks later, Alina was back in her laboratory on Aurora 7, working on a new project involving plant genetics from the Karathi homeworld. She was happy. The reports from Zepho space were encouraging. The plague was in full retreat, and millions of lives had been saved. Marcus floated into the lab with a concerned expression. "Alina, you need to see this. There's a galactic broadcast starting. The Zephyrian hegemony is making some kind of announcement." Alina followed him to the station's main viewing area, where hundreds of researchers had gathered. The massive holographic Displays showed the interior of the hegemony's great hall on Zephyr Prime. High Regent Vex Prime stood at a podium, his skin patterns formal and authoritative. "Citizens of the galaxy," Vex Prime began, "I address you today on a matter of great importance. 2 weeks ago, a human calling herself Dr. Elena Vasquez infiltrated our medical research programs under the guise of offering help. Elena's blood went cold. What is he talking about?" Through careful investigation, Vex Prime continued, "we have determined that this human was not a benevolent scientist, but a spy sent by the human government to steal our biological secrets and make us dependent on their so-called cure." The viewing area erupted in confused murmurs. Elena stepped forward, her face pale. "That's not true. I never stole anything. I gave them the cure freely." "The evidence is clear," Vex Prime declared. "The human Elena Vasquez obtained classified information about our biology and used it to create a biological weapon disguised as a cure. She then leveraged this weapon to position humanity as our saviors, when in fact they were the ones who caused the plague in the first place." "That's impossible," Elena whispered. "The plague predates any human contact with their species by months." But Vex Prime wasn't finished. As punishment for this act of biological warfare and espionage, and as a warning to any species that would dare to deceive the Zephyrian hegemony, Dr. Elena Vasquez will be executed. The hall fell completely silent. On screen, Zephyrian guards were escorting Elena onto the stage. But it wasn't Elena from Aurora 7. It was a holographic recording of her from the research presentation, now being broadcast as if she were actually there. "Wait," Elena said, her voice rising. "I'm here. I'm on Aurora 7. That's just a recording." But even as she spoke, more Zephyrian ships were arriving at the station. The station administrator's voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Elena Vasquez, please report to Docking Bay 7 immediately. You are being extradited to face charges before the Zephyrian hegemony." Elena's human colleagues surrounded her protectively. Marcus grabbed her arm. "Elena, you can't go. This is insane. You saved their species." "I have to go," Elena said quietly. "If I don't, they might take it out on the station, on everyone here. This is about me." Captain Sarah Rodriguez of the Earth Embassy ship Meridian tried to intervene, but the Zephyrian fleet had overwhelming firepower. The station administrator had no choice but to comply with the extradition order. As Elena was led away in restraints, she looked back at her colleagues. "Tell Earth what really happened here. Tell them I tried to do the right thing." 3 hours later, Elena stood in chains before the Hegemony Council on Zephyr Prime. The great hall was filled with thousands of Zephyrians, and the proceedings were being broadcast across the galaxy. "High Regent Vex Prime, read the charges. Elena Vasquez of Earth, you stand accused of biological warfare, espionage, and crimes against the Zephyrian people. How do you answer?" Elena lifted her head, her voice clear and strong. "I saved your people. I asked for nothing in return. If that's a crime in your eyes, then I'm guilty. The court finds you guilty on all charges," Vex Prime declared without deliberation. "The sentence is death, to be carried out immediately." Elena was forced onto a platform in the center of the hall. Zephyrian execution methods involved a neural disruptor that would shut down her brain functions. As the device powered up, Elena spoke her final words. "I came here to help. I gave you a gift freely, asking nothing in return. If this is how you repay kindness, then you deserve what's coming." The neural disruptor activated Dr. Elena Vasquez. The human who had saved an entire species died in front of billions of watching beings across the galaxy. The broadcast ended. Silence fell across the station, Aurora 7. Then the screaming began, but on Earth, in the halls of government and military command centers, there was only cold, calculating silence. Humanity had heard, humanity had seen, and now humanity would respond. Asterisk, when silence becomes thunder. Admiral Marcus Kane stood in the war room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The chamber was carved from solid rock, lined with quantum metal that could withstand any known weapon. Around the circular table sat the most powerful humans in existence: the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Director of Colonial Intelligence, the Secretary of Xenological Affairs, and the Prime Minister herself. The silence in the room was absolute. On the main display, Elena's execution played on repeat. Her final words echoed through hidden speakers. If this is how you repay kindness, then you deserve what's coming. Prime Minister Chen spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. How long since the execution? 47 hours, replied Admiral Kane. All human assets in Zephyrian space have gone dark, as ordered. Commercial traffic has ceased. Diplomatic channels are closed. And the rest of the galaxy? Watching, waiting. They want to see how humanity responds to the murder of our people. General Patricia Voss, head of Colonial Defense, leaned forward. The Zephyrians think they've sent a message. They think killing Elena will make other species afraid to help them in the future. They're wrong, said Director James Walsh of Colonial Intelligence. They've sent a different message entirely. They've told the galaxy that human kindness has a price. Prime Minister Chen studied the faces around the table. These were good people, dedicated to protecting humanity and maintaining peace with alien species. But Elena's death had changed something fundamental in all of them. What are our options? She asked. Admiral Kane activated the holographic display. The galaxy appeared in 3 dimensions, with human colonies marked in blue and Zephyrian territory in red. Conventional war is possible but costly. The Zephyrian hegemony has superior numbers and their ships are well armed. Economic sanctions, they're largely self-sufficient. It would take decades to have any real effect. Diplomatic pressure from other species. Director Walsh shook his head. Most species are too afraid of the Zephyrians to intervene. And frankly, some of them are quietly pleased to see humanity taken down a notch. Prime Minister Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight that made everyone in the room sit up straighter. Elena gave them life, and they responded with death. They broadcast her execution across the galaxy as a warning to others. They wanted to make an example of human compassion. She looked around the table. I think it's time we made an example of Zephyrian cruelty. General Voss activated her personal display. The Ghost Fleet is ready for deployment. 12 Phantom ships, completely undetectable using quantum stealth technology. Each one carries enough firepower to level a planet. No, Prime Minister Chen said firmly, this isn't about destruction. It's about erasure. They killed Elena to make a statement. We're going to make them disappear to make a bigger one. Admiral Kane understood immediately. Project Silence. Exactly. How long would implementation take? The infrastructure is already in place. We could begin operations within 72 hours. What's Project Silence? Asked the Secretary of Xenological Affairs. Director Walsh answered. It's our contingency plan for dealing with species that prove incompatible with galactic civilization. Instead of destroying them, We remove them from existence entirely. No battles, no explosions, no wreckage. They simply ... stop being. The implications sank in around the table. This wasn't warfare as the galaxy understood it. This was something far more terrifying. The Zephyrian Empire consists of 47 colonized worlds and approximately 12 billion individuals. Admiral Kane continued. Using quantum erasure technology, we can remove entire planets from space-time. No trace, no evidence, no survivors. And the galaxy's reaction? Fear, Director Walsh said simply. Complete, absolute fear of what humanity is capable of when pushed too far. Prime Minister Chen made her decision, authorized. Begin with their outer colonies, one planet every 2 hours. Before each erasure, send them a single message. For Dr. Elena Vasquez, ma'am. General Voss said hesitantly. This will be genocide on an unimaginable scale. No, General. Genocide leaves bodies, leaves evidence, leaves a species dead, but, remembered, this is something else entirely. This is what happens when you mistake human mercy for human weakness. The orders went out through channels so classified that only a handful of humans knew they existed. Across human space, sleeper agents activated. Ships that had been disguised as merchant vessels revealed their true nature. Research stations became command centers, and in the deepest vaults of human space, technologies that other species couldn't even imagine came online. The first erasure happened, exactly 72 hours after Elena's death. Zephyr 7, a mining colony on the edge of their territory, simply vanished, not destroyed, not evacuated. One moment it was there, with 3 million Zephyrians going about their daily lives. The next moment, there was empty space where the planet had been. The only sign that anything had happened was a single transmission that reached Zephyr Prime moments after the erasure. For Dr. Elena Vasquez, High Regent Vex Prime received the report in his crystalline palace. His skin patterns showed confusion and disbelief. What do you mean, vanished? He demanded. High Regent, the planet is gone. Our deep space sensors show empty space where Zephyr 7 should be. No debris, no radiation signature, no subspace disturbance. It's as if the planet never existed. That's impossible. Planets don't just disappear. But even as he spoke, another report came in. A human merchant ship had been detected at the edge of their territory, broadcasting a single message on all frequencies for Dr. Elena Vasquez. Then it had vanished, just like the planet. 24 hours later, it happened. Again, Zephyr 12, an agricultural world with 8 million inhabitants, gone without a trace. The same message, the same impossible erasure. Panic began to spread through the Zephyrian Empire. Their scientists had no explanation for what was happening. Their military couldn't fight an enemy they couldn't see or detect. And with each disappearance, the message became clearer. Humanity was methodically deleting their entire civilization. Vex Prim called an emergency session of the Hegemony Council. The great hall that had witnessed Elena's execution was now filled with terrified officials. We must contact the humans, urged Science Advisor Kix 229. This has to be connected to the execution. We need to negotiate. Negotiate. Vex Prime's patterns flashed angry reds. We don't negotiate with terrorists. High Regent, there, erasing our planets. Entire worlds gone without a trace. If this continues, our species will cease to exist. But every attempt to contact humanity failed. Earth's diplomatic channels were silent. Human colonies didn't respond to communications. It was as if humanity had vanished just as completely as the Zephyrian worlds, except for those terrible messages that preceded each erasure. By the end of the first week, 6 Zephyrian worlds had vanished, 43 million people gone. The galactic community was in shock. Other species began to understand what they were witnessing. Not a war, but an execution of an entire civilization. The Korathi Federation tried to intervene, sending diplomatic missions to both sides, but human space was sealed. No ships were allowed in, no communications were answered. The only response came from automated beacons placed at the edge of human territory. The matter of Dr. Alina Vasquez is being resolved. Do not interfere. On Zephyr Prime, civil order began to collapse. Millions of Zephyrians tried to flee to other species' territory, but few were willing to accept refugees from a race that humanity had marked for extinction. The proud Zephyrian Empire found itself completely alone. High Regent Vex Prime barricaded himself in his palace as riots erupted across the capital. His council had abandoned him, fleeing to remote worlds in hopes of escaping humanity's attention. But they were wrong. Every Zephyrian world was marked. Every Zephyrian life was forfeit. On the 10th day, Vexbrim received an unexpected visitor. A human woman materialized in his throne room, flickering like a hologram but clearly present. She wore the uniform of Earth's Colonial Intelligence Service. "High Regent Vex Prime," she said calmly. "I am Director Sarah Chen. We need to talk." Vex Prime's guards raised their weapons, but she ignored them completely. "How did you get here?" "Our security systems, your security systems, are primitive by our standards. We've been monitoring your empire since first contact. We know everything about you. What do you want?" "To give you a choice. You killed Dr. Alina Vasquez for the crime of saving your species. In doing so, you demonstrated that your civilization is incompatible with galactic peace. We are correcting this error by murdering billions of innocent people." Director Chen's expression didn't change. "Dr. Vasquez was innocent. She gave your people life, and you gave her death. Now you understand what death really means. Stop this madness. I'll make reparations. I'll publicly apologize. Too late. You wanted to send a message to the galaxy about the price of crossing the Zephyrian hegemony. We're sending a different message about the price of crossing humanity. Please, there must be something. There is one choice. You can die with your empire, or you can live to tell the galaxy what happens when human kindness is repaid with murder." Vex Prime's skin patterns showed desperate hope. "You'll spare me, we'll spare you and one ship. You'll travel to every major galactic power and tell them exactly what happened here. You'll explain that Dr. Alina Vasquez saved your species and your empire killed her for it. You'll make sure everyone understands that humanity offered mercy and you chose death. And my people, your people made their choice when they cheered at Elena's execution. The galaxy will remember them as a cautionary tale." Vexprim fell to his knees. "I'll do it. I'll tell everyone. Just stop the erasures." Director Chen studied him for a moment. "You have 24 hours to record your testimony and broadcast it to every species in the galaxy. Tell them the truth about Alina Vasquez. Tell them why your empire is being erased, and tell them what happens to those who mistake human mercy for weakness." She began to fade away. "If your testimony is satisfactory, you'll be allowed to leave. Before Zephyr Prime is erased, you'll spend the rest of your life explaining to the galaxy why your entire species had to die." The hologram vanished, leaving Vexbrim alone with his terror. 24 hours later, broadcasts went out across the galaxy. High Regent Vex Prime, the proud leader who had ordered Elena's execution, stood broken before the cameras. His skin patterns showed nothing but grief and defeat. "I am High Regent Vexbrum of the Zephyrian hegemony," he began. "I address the galaxy to confess a terrible crime. 10 days ago, I ordered the execution of Dr. Elena Vasquez, a human scientist who had saved our entire species from extinction." The confession continued for hours. Vexbrum detailed Elena's generosity, her freely given cure, her asking for nothing in return. He explained how he had fabricated charges against her out of pride and jealousy. He described her execution and her final words. "Humanity warned us," he concluded. "Dr. Vasquez said we would deserve what was coming. She was right. My empire dies not because humanity is cruel, but because we repaid kindness with murder. Let this be a lesson to every species that watches. Humanity offers mercy to those who deserve it and erasure to those who don't." The broadcast ended. Within hours, a single ship left Zephyr Prime carrying only Vex Prime and a skeleton crew. 6 hours later, the planet that had been the heart of a great empire simply ceased to exist. The galaxy fell silent. In the span of 2 weeks, humanity had erased an entire species from existence. Not conquered, not destroyed, but deleted so completely that only Vex Prime's testimony proved they had ever existed. Other species began to understand a fundamental truth about humanity that Elena Vasquez had embodied. Humans were capable of incredible kindness and generosity, but they were also capable of precision violence beyond imagination when that kindness was betrayed. Trade routes to human space reopened slowly. Diplomatic channels resumed, carefully and respectfully. But the galaxy was different now. Everyone understood that humanity's mercy was not weakness, and their silence was not submission. In a small ceremony on Aurora 7, a memorial was erected to Dr. Elena Vasquez. The inscription read, "She gave life freely and asked for nothing." In return, her death taught the galaxy that human kindness has a price, and human justice is absolute. The memorial became a pilgrimage site for species across the galaxy. They came to honor Elena's memory and to remember the lesson written in the empty spaces where 47 worlds used to be. When humanity offers a gift of life, accept it with gratitude, because the alternative is to be erased so completely that only the memory of your mistake remains. And in the deepest archives of human space, Elena's final words were preserved forever. "If this is how you repay kindness, then you deserve what's coming." The galaxy had learned. They deserved what came.